Good day, everyone. So, this is Group 2, and we are going to report about the topic the KKK and the Kartilya ng Katipunan. Okay, so a quick recapitulation of, the history of the KKK. It is a secret organization founded in the Philippines on July 1892 by Andres Bonifacio with the aim of freeing the country from the Spanish conquerors. The kataas-taasan, kagalang-galangang katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, KKK, or majority of the people call it Katipunan, is arguably the most important organization formed in the Philippine history. While anti-colonial movements, efforts, and organizations had already been established centuries prior to the foundation of the Katipunan, it was only this organization that envisioned a united Filipino nation that would revolt against the Spaniards for the total independence of the country from Spain. Previous armed revolts had already occurred before the foundation of the Katipunan, but none of them envisioned a unified Filipino nation revolting against the colonizers.
For example, Diego Silang was known as an Ilocano who took up his arrows and led one of the longest-running revolts in the country. Silang, however, was mainly concerned about his locality and referred to himself as El Rey de Ilocos, the King of Ilocos. The imagination of the nation was largely absent in the aspiration of the local revolts before Katipunan. On the other hand, the propaganda movements led by the Ilustrados, like Marcel H. del Pilar, Graciano Lopez Saina, and Jose Rizal did not envision a total separation of the Philippines from Spain, but only demanded equal rights, presentation, and production from the abuses of the friars.
Katipunan created a complex structure and a defined value system that would guide the organization as a collective aspiring for a single goal. One of the most important Katipunan document was the Kartilya ng Katipunan, which means mga aral ng katipunan ng mga anak ng bayan, or lessons of the organizations of the sons of country.
The document was written by Emilio Jacinto in the 1896. Jacinto was only 18 years old when he joined the movement. He was a law student at the Universidad de Santo Tomas. Despite his youth, Bonifacio recognized the value and intellect of Jacinto upon seeing that Jacinto's Kartilya was much better than the Decalogue he wrote. He willingly favored that the Kartilya be distributed to their fellow Katipuneros.
The Kartilya can be treated as the Katipunan Codes of Conduct. It contains 14 rules that instruct the way Katipunan shall behave, and which specific values shall be upheld generally. The rules started in the Kartilya can be classified into two. The first group contains the rules that will make the member an upright individual, and the second group contains the rules that will guide the way he upholds his fellow man. The Kartilya ng Katipunan can be considered as the code of conduct or moral guide for the member of the Katipunan, a revolutionary society in the Philippines during the Spanish colonial period. It contains 14 principles or rules that emphasize the importance of individual integrity and social responsibility. The first group of rules in the Kartilya ng Katipunan pertains to personal conduct and virtues that a member should be possess. These include honesty, patriotism, self-reliance, industry, courage, humility, and respect for others. These principles aim to cultivate the moral character of a Katipunero and to guide him in living a life of dignity and honor. The second group of rules in the Kartilya ng Katipunan focuses on the member relationship with his fellow man. This principle emphasizes the importance of treating others with compassion, justice, and equality. A Katipunan is enjoined to respect the others and dignity of others, to help those in need, to avoid harming others, and to seek the common good. The Kartilya ng Katipunan seeks to develop the personal, and social virtues of Katipuneri in order to achieve the goals of society, which is to liberate the Philippines from Spanish colonial rule.
The next one is the Katipunan Code of Conduct. The first code or rule is the life that is not consecrated to a lofty and reasonable purpose is a tree without a shade, if not a poisonous weed. Kinahanglan nga kita adunay kinabuhi nga gipatuyog sa katuyuan. Kinahanglan sad nga mabala nato kung giunsa ang pagtakda sa atong mga or pagpangita o kahulugan sa atong katuyuan ug magantos kita sa dili gusto nga kahimtang. Next is the second code of conduct. To do good for personal gain and not for its own sake is that virtue. From this code, as a Filipino, nagpasabot nga dili kita mahimong hakog. Kinahanglan natong buhaton ang maayong buhat dili aron makaangkon og mga pagdayeg kun dili aron ipakita kini sa tibuok natong kasing-kasing tungod kay ang buhat nga gihimo alang lamang sa kabantog dili angayan nga tawgon nga maayo.
The third rule. It is rational to be charitable and love one's fellow creature, and to adjust one's conduct, acts, and words to what is in itself reasonable. So it basically means that it gives us the real definition of true act of kindness. Being kind is simply seen by the service and love one gives to his or her fellow men without asking anything in return. Okay, so next is the fourth rule. Whether our skin be black or white, we are all born equal. Superiority, knowledge, wealth, and beauty are to be understood, but not superiority by nature. So, the explanation to this one is, its highlights is equality. We are all born to be equal no matter what race, status, and educational background we have. Our society may have divided us into groups, but we must all understand that no one is a superior of anyone.
So, ang ikalima kay the honorable man prefers honor to personal gain, this scoundrel gain to honor. Mo din siya ang mas giuna ang ilang karangalan kaysa makakuan og dili nga sayop, mas mauna ang wala na. So, ang ikaunom kay to the honorable man, his word is sacred. Mao din siya ang tao nga ang unsay isulti mao jay matuman.
So, nara ko ipuno sa sixth rule. So, the rule 6 tells us that we must be a man of our own words. Whatever we said must be done. We must do things that we promised because we can never take back what we have been said. So we can never take back what we have been said. So, walk the talk. So, ang iyang giingon is kanang dili ta pataka-taka og storya, no, like dili ta patakag bitiw og mga storya sa ubang tao if we can't do it, or nagstorya-storya ra ta para ingnon nga mauna. The seventh rule. Do not waste thy time. Wealth can be recovered but not time lost. So it means everyone must understand the importance of time. We usually focus ourselves on worrying from different material things rather. This code of conduct tells us to treasure time because we can never take it back. At the end, we might end up regretting for the things we weren't able to do, or the things that we are capable to do pero wala na to gibuhat. So we have to make use of our time wisely. So let's proceed to the 8th rule. Defend the oppressed and fight the oppressor before the law or in the field. We don't have the same strengths, but we can help one another. We must choose to fight for what is right, fight with the weak people who needs your help and comfort, and fight those people who keep on putting others down by oppressing them.
The prudent man is sparing in the words and faithful in keeping secrets. So a wise man who thinks of what he say and keeps what is needed to be kept. So dapat jud ay ta mag-amping sa atong inistoryahan ug dapat kabalon sad ta motago og sekreto. Number 10. On the thorny path of life, man is the guide of woman and the children. And if the guide leads to the precipice, those whom he guides will always go there. So all of us need to be a good model for everyone. So bisan unsa nilang makita nato mao'y sun-on nila. And also ang tinuod nga tawo mao'y magiya nato sa saktong agianan para kita dili mawala sa landas nga atong maagian pa.
Okay, so the 11th rule is, thou must not look upon woman as a mere plaything, but as a faithful companion who will share with thee the penalties of life. Her physical weakness will increase thy interest in her, and she will remind thee of the mother who bore thee and reared thee. So the explanation to this one is, this principle is about women, so that every woman deserves to be respected and no man shall see them as an object nor a pastime. Just like what they always say, a man who don't respect a woman do not respect his mother who gave him birth. Girls deserve to be loved with full respect and care.
What thou dost not desire done unto thy wife. Children, brothers and sisters, that do not unto thy wife. Children, brothers and sisters of thy neighbor.
Man is not worth more because he is a king, because his nose is aquiline and his walrus white, not because he is a priest, a servant of God, nor because of the high prerogative that he enjoys upon earth, but he is worth much who is a man of proven and real value, who does good, keep his word, is worthy and honest, he who does not oppress nor consent to being oppressed, he who loves and cherishes his fatherland, though he be born in the wilderness and know no tongue but his own. My explanation about this man is the statement emphasizes that a person's worth is not determined by their social status, physical appearance, or occupation. Rather, it is determined by their action and character. A person has proven their worth through good deeds. Honestly, and integrity is the most valuable. The statement also highlights the importance of treating others with respect and fairness, not oppressing or allowing oneself to be oppressed. Additionally, the love and appreciation for one country are emphasized regardless of one background or language. Or overall, the statement promotes the idea that true worth comes from an action, values, and character rather than external factors.
Where these rules of conduct shall be known to all, the long for sun of liberty shall rise brilliant over this most unhappy portion of the globe, and its rays shall diffuse everlasting joy among the confederated brethren of the same race. The lives of those who have gone before, the fatigues and the well-paid sufferings will remain if he who desires to enter has informed himself of all this and believes he will be able to perform what will be his duty. He may well fill out the application for admission.
So, as the primary governing document which determines the rules of conduct in the Katipunan, properly understanding the Kartilya will thus help in understanding the values, ideals, aspirations, and even the ideology of the organization. Analysis of the Kartilya ng Katipunan. Similar to what we have done to the accounts of Pigafetta, this primary source also needs to be analyzed in terms of content and context. As a document written for a fraternity whose main purpose is to overthrow a colonial regime, we can explain the content and provisions of the Kartilya as a reaction and response to certain value systems that they found despicable in the present state of things that they struggled against with. So, ang main purpose ko no sa go-write sa Kartilya ng Katipunan is to overthrow a colonial regime. So colonial regime basically means the control or governing influence of a nation over a dependent country, territory, or people. For example, the 4th and the 13th rules in the Kartilya are an invocation of the inherent equality between and among men regardless of race, occupation, or status. So, in the context of the Spanish colonial era, where the Indios were treated as the inferior of the white Europeans, the Katipunan saw to it that the alternative order that they wished to promulgate through the revolution necessarily destroyed this kind of unjust hierarchy.
In the contemporary eyes, the Katipunan can be criticized because of these provisions. However, one must not forget the context where the organization was born. Not even in Europe or in the whole of the West at that juncture recognized the problem of gender inequality. Indeed, it can be argued that Katipunan's recognition of women as important partners in the struggle, as reflected not just in Kartilya, but also in the organizational structure of the fraternity where a women's unit was established, is an endeavor advanced for its time. Aside from results no letter to the women of Malolos, no same effort with a supposed cosmopolitan propaganda movement was achieved until the movement's eventual disintegration in the latter part of the 1890s. From that statement, it acknowledges that some people in the present day may criticize the provisions of the Katipunan, but it is important to consider the historical context in which the organization was formed. At the time, gender inequality was not recognized as a problem in Europe or the whole West, and the Katipunan's recognition of women as important partners in the struggle was advanced for its time. The statement also notes that the Katipunan's efforts in promoting women's rights were more significant than those of the propaganda movement, which eventually disbanded in the later part of the 1890s. The mention of Rizal's letter to the women of Malolas highlights the Katipunan's progressive stance on women's rights.
So, aside from this, the Kartilya was instructive not just of the Katipunan's conduct toward other people, but also for the members' development as individuals in their own rights. Generally speaking, the rules in the Kartilya can be classified as either directed to how one should treat his neighbor or to how one should develop and conduct oneself. Both are essential to the success and fulfillment of the Katipunan's ideals. All in all, proper reading of the Kartilya will reveal a more thorough understanding of the Katipunan and the significant role that it played in the revolution and in the unfolding of the Philippine history as we know it. So have a nice day everyone and God bless.